An FA Cup tie at Stamford Bridge in 2010 was meant to be just another knockout match. Instead, it became one of the most talked about football disorder cases of the decade. Chelsea versus Cardiff City, two passionate supporter bases, two strong away day cultures, and a fixture that always promised noise, energy, and intensity. Cardiff brought thousands to London, and the atmosphere inside the ground was electric from the start. By this period, English football had changed. The worst years of hooligan chaos were long gone, and policing had moved into a modern era. CCTV, intelligence, and tighter matchday planning. But trouble hadn't disappeared completely. It had simply changed shape. And on this day, despite preparations, flashpoints outside the stadium grew quickly, leaving injuries, arrests, and a major police operation that continued long after the final whistle. This is the story of how a routine FA Cup match turned into a modern football flashpoint, and how the aftermath showed just how differently the game was being policed in the new era. In the hours before kickoff, the mood around Stamford Bridge was loud but familiar. Cardiff had traveled in strong numbers, filling pubs, streets, and the away end with confidence and noise. Chelsea supporters matched that energy, creating the kind of atmosphere the FA Cup is known for: passionate, intense, and fully charged. On the pitch, the match was physical and competitive, and while Chelsea pulled ahead and moved toward a deserved win, the real tension wasn't building between the players. It was building outside the gates. Thousands of supporters poured into the surrounding streets. Two passionate fan bases, leaving the stadium at the same time, through the same few routes with pride, rivalry, and emotion still boiling. It only took one spark, a few confrontations, a few shouts back and forth, and suddenly the tone around Stamford Bridge shifted. Police began to move in as groups formed and emotions sharpened. The match was over, but the day wasn't. Once the first confrontations broke out, the situation didn't spread wide, it spread fast. Instead of one large riot, the streets around Stamford Bridge became a series of small running flashpoints, moving in different directions at once. Police officers suddenly found themselves reacting, not controlling. Groups of rival supporters clashed in side streets, along shop fronts, outside pubs, and even on corners where ordinary families were just trying to get home. Some fans tried to pull away from the trouble, others moved toward it. Police formed quick containment lines, but tight London streets made it difficult. Vans could barely get through. Officers were having to move on foot, and for several minutes the tide of movement was flowing faster than the response. While objects were thrown and individuals were struck, the visual reality of the clashes was something else. The confusion, noise echoing between buildings, supporters rushing in different directions, officers trying to separate groups while new ones formed just meters away. This wasn't one big battlefield. It was a moving, unpredictable street fight. As footage and reports came in, it became clear the Metropolitan Police were dealing with something far beyond a typical match-day disturbance. Instead of relying only on arrests made at the scene, they launched a large post-match investigation aimed at identifying everyone involved. Officers gathered CCTV clips, mobile recordings, and photographs from the streets around Stamford Bridge. Images of suspects were reviewed and analyzed frame by frame, and soon the police began releasing stills to the public, asking for names and leads. It was a modern approach to football disorder, methodical, patient, and built on evidence collected after the event, rather than during it. The operation paid off. Dozens of supporters from both clubs were identified, traced, and brought before the courts in the weeks and months that followed. Many received banning orders, and several were handed prison sentences for their involvement. What started as a chaotic street confrontation had now become one of the most extensive football-related investigations of the era. The message was clear. Even if you walked away from the stadium that day without being stopped, the police would still catch up later. In the modern game, the match might have ended at full time, but the consequences were only just beginning. To understand why the day unfolded the way it did, you have to look at the bigger picture of football culture at the time. By 2010, the worst eras of English hooliganism were in the past, but rivalry and identity were still powerful forces in the stands. Cardiff and Chelsea both had long-standing reputations for committed, vocal support, and neither set of fans were known for backing down easily when lines were crossed. But there were other factors at play. Large away followings, high-stakes cup football, and the freedom of thousands of people pouring into busy London streets after full time all created conditions where a small spark could quickly become something bigger. Alcohol played a part, emotions were running high, and once the first confrontations began, the momentum of the crowd carried events forward faster than police could contain. At the same time, football policing had entered a new era. Instead of relying purely on officers on the ground, authorities increasingly depended on post-match intelligence, CCTV, digital evidence, and detailed reconstruction of events after they happened. The Chelsea-Cardiff incident became a clear example of this shift. It was a clash born from pride, reputation, and rivalry, and it showed the world that football hooliganism had never truly disappeared. It had just gone underground. And with that, we end our story of Cardiff versus Chelsea, the day the firms returned. A day that proved history doesn't always stay in the past.